Okay, let's talk some more vocab. If you have right here your XY coordinates, if I have the X is the horizontal axis, the Y is the vertical axis that we're looking at here. Typically, whenever you have this XY coordinate, you are looking at the values on the X and Y. When we are going to be using this in terms of an angle measurement, then my angle is going to go up from there. So for instance, okay, so let me quit talking about this. We know this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. When you have this angle measurement, you are starting here at 0 degrees. Then, remember, we're in positive direction is counterclockwise. So if I come up here and I'm making this angle, what is this one? If I go all the way up to this, 90 degrees. If I'm coming here and I'm shooting it down to this and it makes this, because remember, you always start and then how I'm going, if I'm going this whole distance, what is this straight angle? 180 degrees, good. Then keep going. So if this is 180 and then I want to get an additional 90 to get this one down here, that puts me at 270, good. And then I'm swinging it all the way around and back up to this point. Where does that take you? 360. So the 0 degree and the 360 degree are at the same side, right? If I can go here, this angle measurement, and I go nowhere, that starts me at 0. If I have my terminal side, swing it all the way around to get to this point, that's where I'm at that 360. All right. So if I'm in between this, then you have those angle measurements, obviously 0 to 90, 90 to 180, 180 to 270, 270 to 360, right? If I were to come back this direction, this would be the negative 90. We'll talk more about that later. We'll get into that, but that's something, since we talked about going in those different directions, then that's something that I want to bring up to you, and we'll talk about more in just a minute. If you have an angle measurement like 90 degrees, if the measure is on the axis 0, 90, 180, 270, 360, and typically if it's up to 360, 360 is not really one that we go for, but you can keep swinging it around. Anyway, these are called quadrantal, Quadrantal angles, because it's on the actual quadrant. So like my 90-degree angle here is considered a quadrantal angle because it's not in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2. It's right there on that axis. All right? Okay. If an angle has the same ending, what do I want to say? It's the same terminal side. So honestly, that's just what it is. So if I have this angle measurement, I have this angle right there. You also have this angle. Oops. Try again. You also have this angle. Do you see what just happened? You can have co-terminal angles as long as they have that same terminal side. These are considered there's no dash, co-terminal angles have the same terminal side. But you're just swinging around a full 360. So your coterminal angles, you're going to take the angle and then add or subtract 360 to it so that you end back on that same side. Do you see what I'm meaning? So you can add or subtract 360 degrees to get the same terminal side. Positive goes this direction, right? Negative would send me back this direction. That would be the same coterminal angle. But to get all the way around this circle, you know a circle has 360 degrees. So to get all the way around that circle, then that's where you come up with it. Okay, so let's do a couple examples of this. Here I have example 4A. I want to find the coterminal angles. The least possible positive coterminal. Find least possible positive. Coterminal angle. That's an angle symbol. It looks like a Pac-Man with a little line on it saying it's an angle. That's angle. Okay, so let's make this my A. I have 908 degrees. So if I'm looking at 908 degrees, then what we want to do is say, okay, that's obviously greater than 360, so I'm swinging around the bin a couple times. I have to determine, whenever I look at this, you can go through, and if you know factors of 360, then you can do that, right? So that's your choice. So if I looked at this and I was like, oh, I know that 360 times 2 is 720, that's still less. You could take two 360s and subtract from that. If you don't know that, just keep subtracting 360 until you get something, right? That's the moral of this story. So your coterminal angle would be 908 minus 720, which is what 2 times 360 is, and you get 188. And 188. I said it, didn't write it. Degrees. That is your least possible coterminal angle. All right. So what that means is you have this terminal side right here about 188 in order to get to that. But your 908 actually looks like this, where I'm taking this, there's 360, there's 720, and then I get there. So the red one is the 908 degrees. The black one here, to get this side, the same terminal side, the black one is your 188 degrees. Do you see what I'm saying? So you can have an infinitely big angle that you're looking at. So to get that coterminal, it's nice to look at, okay, that coterminal angle is going to give you information about which quadrant you're in. That's how we're going to use this information in order to pull that off. Rarely do we actually work in terms of 908 degrees. But what the goal here is so that you can bring this around and make the connections of which quadrant am I in. That's going to help you to determine some different values, especially when we start actually putting actual trig into that. Getting this 4 quadrant, having a basics in that is going to super help. So kind of this chapter, this first section, not this chapter, this first section is just setting us up. Oh, how can we work with this? Oh, what does that mean? All right. Okay. So let's look at this. Negative 75 degrees. So if I want to say what is the coterminal angle here, I want to look and say, okay, if this is already negative, then how am I going to make this positive? Over here, I subtracted. Let me make this a bigger subtraction. I subtracted because I had this super big positive, subtracted to bring it back down into the realm. If you start negative, what are you going to have to do with that 360? Yes, you're going to add 360 to that and see where it pans out. So negative 75 plus 360 is going to end up giving us 285 degrees. So my positive angle here, if I'm looking at this, my positive 75 is going to be what? Like around like right here. Oh, simmer down there, simmer down. I don't know, like something that, or probably a little bit closer there. I didn't draw that very well. Let me try again. Closer down like this, really. All right, so this is negative 75 degrees. So if I have my negative 75 degrees, my positive angle that comes out of this is going to be coming around this, and that's my 285 degrees. Do you see that? Counterclockwise is positive. Clockwise is negative, but still same terminal side, so they are considered coterminal angles. All right? Again, the big deal whenever it comes to coterminal angles is simply being able to set this up and get into your quadrant